नहीं. Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. This is Waqi Munim with the usual weekly webinars, and the topic that I'm going to talk about today is my life's lessons. So it's going to be like the learnings that I have in my life, and I'm going to share those with you. And I will open up later in the session, so that if you have any questions or you want to share your own stories, you can do that as well. So recently I had published an article in LinkedIn by the same topic of my life lessons, and it was very well appreciated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the learnings that I had in the article as well. Now we all know that everyone has their own life and their own journey, and the learnings that or the things that have worked for one individual may or may not work for another individual, and everyone has to go through their own experiences, their own failures, their own successes, their own highs, their own lows. The interesting thing I find in today's time, which is full of social media and the internet bringing the information to the people so easily, and information being so much accessible to everyone, the challenge still remains that people, despite knowing what are the elements generally for success, what are the things which are the right and what are the things that generally we need to avoid, yet we see more and more people becoming depressed, more and more people having issues. They are not fully living the life in the way that they should be living. So there must be a reason why that is the case. With so much knowledge at the palm of your smartphone, you can go onto the YouTube and learn from the best in any field. Yet what we see is that people are not happy, and the reason for this is that it's all here in the mind. It's not about the information. It's about what do you do with that particular information in adapting it to your own life and making the most out of it. So that is something which is very important for all of us. It's like information is available, and today if you're part of any of the chat groups or any of the Instagram groups or WhatsApp groups, you will be getting so much information. Everyone believes that because they have shared a piece of information as if they are the custodian of it, or they are the ones who are the advocates of it. But the important thing is, what do you do with a particular information, and how you can lead your life protecting yourself from the fears that are taking place all in the mind. How can you keep the mind active and in the right direction and positive? So the first learning that I have from my life is to develop courage. And if there is one thing even my worst critique would say that I do have, is courage. And that is what epitomizes my life. It's all about courage. Taking the decision, moving in the direction that I want to do despite the opposition, and going towards the goals and dreams that you aspire to. It's not important, the destination is not important, that you have to become this much money or that particular car or that particular house. That's not the important thing. The fun is in the journey. It's a journey of like, where do you want to go, and pursuing the goals or the dreams that you have and enjoying those on a day-to-day basis till the time you are alive and living in the life. So that's courage. Many people think of courage as like fighting a battle, or doing a big bungee jump, or doing certain things which can be which can come into the valor or a brave part. But I think the biggest bravery is when the day is over and you're all by yourself, and you're closing the light to sleep, and all your small gremlins or your fears then poke up, and they talk about the things such as like, what will I do if I'm unable to survive the next day? What will happen if I lose my job or my business? What will happen if I'm unable to provide for my family? What will happen to me in my old age if my pension doesn't work? All those fears, to overcome those and yet move in the direction that you want to head towards, which is your dream, that is courage for me. That epitomizes the courage. And that is very different than how people generally think about courage. So and an example, and courageous people can be anywhere. It's not about, when you say courage is like, you give an example of someone who has fought a battle, or courage about someone who took a very challenging, risk-taking business proposition and then created a great empire. Courage can be seen everywhere around yourself, and I generally look for courage in people from normal walks of life, and some of the people that I found were more courageous than even the people who are fighting battles in the battlefield. I give you an example, like which I keep talking about. The bellboy in one of the hotels in Dubai, whose house was damaged completely in the earthquake of 2015. He lost his job, yet he didn't give up hope, and he had the courage to leave his house in Nepal, come to Dubai and take the job of a bellboy, though he was working as a professor in the university in Kathmandu. So that is bravery. The ability to face your fears, and I'm sure that he might be going through so many challenges, thinking that he was a professor and now I'm working as a bellboy. But he didn't allow those fears to affect how he will be appearing in front of the people. Instead, he said, what is important is that I resurrect the flagging fortunes of my family. That's what is important, and of myself. I am really, really glad that God has given me the chance and the opportunity to live. So that is the type of thing, courage, that I'm talking about. So courage, another element of courage which I have understood is that all of us, the way in which we behave or the way in which we act is all because of the conditioning that we have received through our ages, through our parents, through our siblings, through our families, meaning like the broader families, from our schools, from our colleges, from our institutions, from the culture in which we live. So there's a conditioning going on which tells us this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. It's just like the movies. In the movies, the protagonist or the hero or the heroine, the key character, will always do the things which are like right. And then there is a villain who's to be painted in a way that it's completely dark or black. The reason for doing that is to show the people that this is easy for them in a 2-hour movie or a 2.5-hour movie, that this is right and this is wrong. But in life, there is no such thing as black or white. It's more the grades, the shades of gray, right? So it's important that we need to realize the conditioning that we have received all along our life, and having the courage to challenge the conditioning that we have gone through to decide for our own self what is right and the path that we have to choose. The free will is the biggest blessing that has been given to the individuals. And that has to be used with the help of the human intellect. And sadly, I see that in many parts of the world, especially in my country, I feel many times that the intellect, the most important possession that any individual has been loaned out to other people. So it's more about like some person talking about something and people just accepting it as a reality. They just believe things to be true. And my suggestion would be to have the courage to challenge the most fundamental beliefs that you have, the fabric of those, and then accepting certain of those yourself, then that's great. Or changing those to the ones that you believe are the right ones, because it is your own life and you have to be the custodian of it. You are the steward, you are the shepherd, and you have to guide it to the place that you want to head towards. I had written a very good, I think so, maybe you judge it, in the article a paragraph defining courage, and I'll just read it out to you, which says, I have always believed that courage is the most important attribute of living a full life. It gives the strength to manifest dreams despite their enormity, the power to speak up despite aggressive opposition, the resilience to lighting up the fire of your beliefs and ideals despite the darkness all around, the valor to accept your fault publicly despite the implications, and the guts to appreciate others despite the competition. Courage then epitomizes the ultimate human quality that is built through the expansiveness of the mind and the limitless warmth of the heart. So that was a paragraph I wrote about courage, and I'm a huge believer in the power of courage and power of human capability to go and achieve anything that they so want. I want to tell you one more thing, which is like your mind can be an enabler or a limiter. It can be both. So it all depends upon how you cultivate it. There's a great story which comes in the traditions of the Aborigines, where a young boy, he was asking the questions like he was telling a story to a young guy. The Aborigine chief was telling a story to a young boy, and he said that there was a fight taking place between the black wolf and the white wolf, and there was a huge fight taking place. So the young boy asked who wins the fight. So the white wolf signifies the good, and the black signifies the evil, the issues in life and everything. So at the end, who wins? And the chief said, who do you want to win? If you feed the white wolf will win. If you feed the black wolf will win, whichever has the power. So it's in your brain. If you feed the good, you feed the positivity, you feed the powerful thoughts, that will manifest into your life. On the other side, if you're going to feed the negativity, you feed the envious behavior, you're going to feed your limitations, those are the type of things you're going to feed, then you will allow the wolf of negativity to win. And you cannot allow that to happen. So having the courage, the power to bring about a change despite whatever your situation might be, is one of the greatest learnings that I have had in my life. And I think that many of you would have similar learnings as well. So first lesson is to always have courage. And whenever your courage is getting down, try to speak to yourself, do certain things which you are afraid of, and then you will gain the courage to do things and continue moving. Even if you lose, don't look at life as winning or losing. You always have a chance to come back and to do better. Okay, so that's should not be an issue. The second big learning that I have had up till now with my life, this is what I did not write in the article, but as I was running on the treadmill, I was thinking about it. And this is like, to bring about any change in life, you have to change your own self. The entire world is inside you. It's not outside you. Let me give you an example. When you see, you don't see outside. You see inside the retina of your eye. When you touch something, the sensation happens in your fingertips. When you are tasting something, it is in your taste buds, in your tongue, which gives you the taste. So everything in the entire universe is all inside yourself. The problem with most of us is that we want the external situations to change without changing the internal self. And that's sort of a bit of stupidity, that we want to change the world without changing our own self. Now, take examples of like people who have done phenomenally well. I see on Instagram and also on WhatsApp and on Facebook, a lot of people posting examples of, say, Abraham Lincoln, or of other people who were like a dropout and they didn't do well. He was divorced, he had so many problems, and then he became the first American president. You take an example of Kentucky Fried Chicken owner. At the age of 60, he created a $1 billion empire. But they didn't create all this or achieved everything because they were just waiting for an opportunity and it happened. They transformed themselves. And when you transform your own self in your mind, opportunities knock themselves, because you are now ready for those elements. So the emphasis has to be in continually renewing your own self or reinventing your own self for the better. You will see it when you are in the best health of your life, when you are in the best mental state, where you are exercising well, where you are eating well, where you're sleeping well, where you have the best relationship. You are in a zone of peak performance and you're operating so well that everything starts to fall into place. Whatever you touch turns into gold. On the other side, there are times when you're lethargic, you don't feel right, and then things start to go wrong. So it's all happening in the mind. So it's about a change that you have to bring into your own self. One story which I really like, which epitomizes the change of yourself, is of a guy in Hungary. He was an officer in the army. His name was Karolai Takas. Okay, he was a sergeant in the Hungarian army, and he was wanted to be the world champion in rapid pistol shooting. So he was the champion of Hungary, and he was to go to the Olympics. And people used to believe that once he goes to Olympics, he's going to win because he was so good. Now it so happened that in those days, the sergeants were not allowed to participate in the Olympics. Only commissioned officers were allowed to do that. So later that rule was taken away, and then he knew that in the next Olympics he will go there and he would win. Okay. Now it so happens that because he was a military guy, he was defusing a bomb, and the bomb exploded in his own hand. So what did that do? His right arm with which he used to do the pistol shooting was blown away. So he didn't have a right arm. So people came to him, they commiserated, they said, "We are so sorry to hear about it, your life is finished," like the way people generally talk about it. So, because people believe that, once you lose something, you will never be able to resurrect your fortunes in life. So what this guy did was, he didn't tell anyone, he didn't feel bad about his situation, and he started to practice with his left hand, rapid pistol shooting. So after 2 years, there was a Hungarian competition, and he appeared over there. So when he appeared, his friends thanked him that, despite your, the problem that you have, your arm misfortune that you have faced, you have come here to encourage us in this competition. And Caroline looked at them, smiled, and he said, "I'm not here to encourage anyone. I'm here to participate and to win the competition." And people were really surprised. They said, "How can you be competing when you don't even have your right good hand for doing the pistol shooting?" He said, "I'm going to do it with my left hand." And he won it hands down, that competition. 2 years later, it was Olympics. He went there, he won the Olympics. Then again, after 4 years, he won it again, the Olympics in rapid pistol shooting. And then in the third one, he came in number 2 or number 3. So what I'm saying is, in this particular story, what is like huge inspiration for me is like, he brought about the change, not in the external circumstances. The external circumstances were all against him, right? Taking away his right arm, his dreams of becoming the Olympic gold medalist. But he brought about a change in his own self. And when he bring about a change, instead of lamenting and crying over your situation, he changed that to say that I have the empowerment to do what I want to live. If I don't have my right arm, I have the left. And I'm going to be as good with the left arm. It may take a little bit more effort, but I will be able to do that. And this is what he did, and he was able to win 2 gold medals, right? So that is the importance of the mind. So whenever you are down, you're feeling that life is being unfair, things are not working in the way that they should work for me, then the only way is, instead of blaming situation that it was because of the sun was not shining right, or it was cloudy environment, or my boss was not good, or my family did not support me, or it's unfortunate situation that such thing happened. Instead, try to see what you are doing wrong. What is it that needs to improve? Or the level at which you were playing, now you have reached a point where you need to have a higher level of performance to get the same level of output, or better. So raise your game, raise your standards all the time. And that is the only way to be successful in life. So that's my second big learning, is that all change happens from within. It's not from without, it's within that you have to bring, and keep working to make yourself better and better every day. I always used to say that if you write a memo today, that memo has to be better than the memo that you had written previously. If you're making a speech today, it has to be better than the speech that you make yesterday. The competition is not with any other person. The competition is with your own self, and the objective is to become better and better and better and better and better. It's not to get any rewards. It's just because you want to be so strong as a human and so good that other things start to manifest automatically. Is the giving your best to everything. There's another article that I had written, and I talked about it, where the power of excellence versus mediocrity. In mediocrity, you're going to see all around, whereas the easy way out of people is like a phrase which is commonly used in my part of the world, which says "chalta hai," which is meaning it's okay. And I have always believed that okay is not okay, right? Okay is not okay. You have to be at your best, even in your most mundane things that you do in your life. So, because by doing the things again and again, that's what makes it excellence. Excellence is not something that you wake up one day and you say, today, while doing this, I'll be excellent. It requires a lot of effort, a lot of practice, a lot of preparation. So if you're practicing it on on every day, in even small things, you become excellent in everything that you do. So that's the second learning, which is to change, bring about a change in your own self, reinvent yourself and become better and better every day. The third learning I would share, what I feel is there is power in developing discipline. Discipline is like a huge power. And why is it discipline? Waking up at the right time, sleeping well, eating well, exercising, all these elements give you the energy. And energy is the most important thing in life. We are all energy. If you go into quantum mechanics, it will tell you you're just energy fields which appear to the eye as solid. There's no such thing as solid. 99.9% is vacuum. There's nothing. There's literally nothing. If you take a scan of yourself, you will be just energy field and nothing else. So energy is very important, and how do you manage your energy in the right way is what determines the people's success, or at least a better life. Would you like people who are just like lethargic all the time, half of the time they're just passing the life, floating without any purpose or any direction? When you talk with them, you feel like, you start questioning what is the purpose of living anyway. Whereas there are other people who are so high on energy, they have so much power, they have so much good to talk to. You talk with them and then you become like, oh my God, I got a current, this type of a thing. And you feel like zapped. You say that I am the best thing after the discovery of sliced bread. You have that feeling. And I have coined a term where I call these people as zappers, because they zap you, they may give you energy. And there are other people who are sappers. They take the energy out of you. They will tell you, no, you cannot do this because so and so tried and it did not work. You cannot do this because you're a girl, you're a boy, you are whatever, you are not in the right place, the country is bad, or XYZ thing. They will just discourage you. So be aware of the sappers, and yourself try to be a zapper and in providing encouragement to people so that they can go beyond the comfort zone, go beyond the limitations to achieve things in life. And it's not about amassing wealth or maybe getting certain material things. It's about the quality of life. And the quality of life will be good if you are free from the encumbrances of fear in your head. Imagine someone living with a pressure cooker of fears, anxieties and worries all the time. It's going to be a hell, while living. You don't have to wait for heaven or hell after dying. You're already creating a hell in the life that we have. So it's important to replace those with a zapping attitude. And how can that happen? By creating discipline. Because what we are is simply physiology and psychology. There's only two things. Physiology is what you are eating, how you are sleeping, the exercises, so the chemicals in your body have to be done, have to be working in the best way. When they're not working in the best way, you have a disease. Or you have depression, you have others. So it's all chemical related. If you're stressed, then cortisol levels are high. You have to replace them with serotonin. So that's what nutritionists are going to also talk about, the same thing. So you can balance that. So it's the physiology. And even more important than the physiology is your psychology. Is like, how do you keep your mind strong and powerful? And that you can do through disciplining, meditation, through being firmed up in terms of your goals, having the focus in doing the things and not being distracted with the noise that comes from different places. It's very, very important. And now science is even seeing that there's a huge power in healing through your mind. It's like, how do you think has a huge impact on the life that you live. So that's my third learning. The other learning that I have is to vaccinate yourself from fears. Now, there are two themes that always come when I think about my life and the things that I share with people. The first is always about courage, and that's why I created even a company and named it Courageous Minds. The other thing I always say is like overcoming your fears. If there's one thing one has to do is to overcome your fears. They are the ones which really spoil the quality of living that we are having. So how do we vaccinate ourselves from the fears? And the way in which I suggest is just like when you are fearful of any disease. So what do? You do a vaccination. And what is a vaccination? They insert small quantities of the germs from which you want to be protected of the disease. And then your white blood cells are strong, they are more, they attack that particular small quantity of these germs of the disease, and they overcome it, and then they develop the resistance. So when you have a full-fledged attack of that disease, the white blood cells are strong enough to overcome that. That's the whole philosophy of vaccination. Now, within that, what is the way in which we can vaccinate ourselves from other fears? So say, for instance, if you are really, really fearful about losing your job, so then in that particular case, what you need to do is start to improve your skills, start to put your CV out in the marketplace, and if you get a job, you don't have to take that particular job, but you know that you are in demand. So then you can go back to work, and you have parked your fear. So you have vaccinated yourself from the fear, because you know that if you will be fired, you will get another job. Same is the case. If you're worried about your exam, then start studying, and studying quite some time in advance, so that you are prepared for it. So preparation, which is again coming to the discipline part, is a way of vaccinating yourself from the fears. So you need to talk like, what are you fearful of? Can you do something about it or not? Is it in your circle of influence or a circle of concern? If it is in your circle of influence, do something about it. If it's a circle of concern, leave it. Because what can you do? Then take another battle later. I give you an example. So from a corporate, I'm just standing now, from my corporate life. So I was asked in, I think it was 2013 or thereabout, to move from home care to fabric care. And the transition took place, so I joined them in, it was I think April. So 2 months were left for the end of the year, because Procter follows the fiscal year instead of the calendar year. So when I got in there, there's like, the year was already gone. It was like, and it seemed like it will be a bad year, right? So I was with the lead team, and they were saying that, what should we do? I said, listen, this is nothing that can be done in 2 months. Forget about it. I am not even going to spend 2 minutes talking about the last 2 months of the fiscal. Let's start working for the next year, that is starting July 1. If we do the right things now, we may have a good year the next year, but this year is gone, written off. Don't worry about it. Let it be, because anyway, if you try, nothing will happen in 2 months, because it's already done and dusted, gone. So that's the type of approach. What is your circle of influence and your circle of concern? You may have a concern about global issue, but you can do nothing about it. So what's the point about doing that, huh? So there's a question by Monkey Edit, that must be Manal, or do tell us more about what the fiscal year. Fiscal year means that you can have like a calendar year which starts from January to December. Some companies have their books of accounts. For the book of account, they have the year, which can be like Procter has it in June. So it starts from July 1 to June 30th for their reporting purposes. Some companies I know even have like a year which starts from April 1, ends on 31st of March. So the companies can choose that, and when they do this, it's called the fiscal year instead of a calendar year. And calendar year is always like January to December 31st. So all the books closing, recording, transaction, reporting is done within that period of time, and that will be called, those 12 months which start from July 1 to June 30th will be called the fiscal year. So I hope, Manal, you got the point. Okay, so the next one learning that I have is break the box of limitations. Again, I have heard so many people talk so many times, and I'm sure that I must be one of those who have done that at some point in my life as well, or maybe doing it still, is creating imaginary set of barriers in our mind, saying that we will not be able to do because of X. We will not be able to achieve this because of another thing. Like, there was a time when there was at my job, one of the people who was not performing well, I called the individual, and I was having a coaching session with him, and he told me that, you know, I understand now why I'm not performing well. I said, okay, why? What is your analysis? Why aren't you performing well? And he said, I'm not performing well because I'm not in the right job. I should be doing something different, okay? And I think that the environment that I'm getting is also not great. And I think that, and he went on in creating a laundry list of reasons, all external, of why he's unable to succeed. And my question to him was that, have you also thought that there could be a reason that there's something in you which is not working, or is all externally which are, conspiring to be against you? Or is it something that you're not doing right? Maybe that can also be a possibility. And for many people, they don't understand it, that the barriers are all in their head. The transformation starts from inside. And if you're going to say that this is a limitation, then it will be a limitation. If you think that it's not going to be a limitation, then it won't be a limitation. So you have to break the box of limitation. Don't get yourself into a box. You have to break the box, go out of the box, do the things that you want to, challenge your biggest fears in your life, because we all have learned that. We have done it as children. Like a child falls, that's science, not me. Research shows that a child falls 2,000 times before he or she learns to walk. 2,000 times before he or she learns to walk. So they have a failure of 1,999 times. They fail, okay, but they don't give up, but they still get up and walk, because the euphoria or the benefit of walking is much more than crawling for them. Imagine if as adults we were to do the same thing. After the first 10 falls, we would say, let's develop some efficiency in crawling. Let's get some knee pads so that we can crawl in a more efficient way. So this is an important thing. It's like, go out of your limitations. If people initially believe that humans cannot fly, now you can be in 3 countries in the same day. Not an issue. Because someone believed, the Wright brothers believed that no, that is just a box of limitation. We need to find a way of making us fly and reach different places. Now there's a Tesla wants to have the rocket to transport people to Mars and to Moon and to other places. So you can have a visit, just like you're going to visit a US or Europe, you can go to Mars and have a vacation over there. Now that is breakthrough thinking, so that is the type of thing which is needed. Break those barriers. Barriers are not outside, barriers are here in the head, and they have to be challenged and broken. Whatever the barriers are, it cannot be the biggest or the things, but even on a small level, you have to break those barriers to achieve the things that you want. I give you one example that from my life. Like at one point I wanted to run, and I wanted to run like at least 10 kilometers. For me it was like big thing, because I had never before ran so much in my life. The maximum I had done was playing cricket as a fast bowler, would just bowl a few overs and then move. And I was never athletic enough to do this thing. And in 2005 or thereabout, I started to run. Initially, it was so difficult. Was so difficult because my legs would swell, but I would still get up and keep going to the treadmill in the morning at 5:30 to exercise. And then I achieved, like, I would run every day 10 kilometers, and I would do it at a really, really fast speed as well. So you can do anything that you want to, but first break the limitation which is inside the head. Many people say, like, I've met a lot of my friends from school days, and they will already start to say that the mindset is more about, like, yeah, they'll be calling people like children, you are like this, we are old. Now, if you're going to tell yourself all the time you're old, then of course, what does your subconscious mind do? You start acting old, and you're behaving like this. Age is all in the mind. It's a number. You need to, with your own discipline, with your own effort, you need to, get the energy, because it's not about age. You're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, it's all number. But what you're doing with your life till the time you have the life, that is an important element. And how do you keep your energy levels and the life that has been bestowed to you by God, how are you treating it in the best possible way? That is the best way of saying thank you for the life that we have. So break the barriers and break these artificial box of limitations, okay? So up till now I have talked about a few learnings, which has been to develop courage, very important. Second I talked about was to bring about a change in your external circumstances. First, change your own self. Rediscover yourself, reinvent yourself. It's very, very important. Number 3 is to follow discipline. Especially when you are down, you need to be even more disciplined than normal. Because when you are performing in your peak zone and you're doing great things, even certain inefficiencies that come in or the mistakes that you make, they are covered because of the momentum that you have created in your life and the power that you have created. So the force is with you. But when you are going against the wind and it is becoming really, really difficult, whatever you do is criticized or whatever you do doesn't work, at that time you have to be even more disciplined. You have to be at your best, because if you're not at your best, things will not work. Okay, so only person who can change your life is you, and you can do it through changing first your mind, bringing in discipline, and having the courage to every day fight your gremlins and to move towards the direction that you want to head towards. The other one I talked about was vaccinate yourself from your fears and to break the box of limitations. Okay, the other learning that I have, which I also wrote in the article, was about never leave home without confidence. If there is one accessory that every individual need to have, is the confidence in your own self. I repeat, if there's only one accessory that you need to have in your life, is to have confidence. Wear it all the time. Confidence is really, really important. But don't make confidence to get into becoming arrogance. Okay? So being confident means that you are on top of yourself. You believe in God, believe in your own self that you will be able to achieve things. Have the humility to accept your mistakes as well. That has nothing to do. Confident people are not the one who don't accept mistake. Rather, they are the people who accept mistake. They appreciate other people. There's a comment which has come in from the letter apparel, which says, my mom says, never leave the house hungry. That goes for food. Confidence, anything. Yes, good. Yeah, she's right. Never leave house hungry. That's good. And also, I would say never leave house without confidence, or even in the house, be as confident as possible. It's because the story that you tell to yourself when you're confident is that things are under control. Like in one of the Indian movies, he always talks like all is well. Is a way of saying that you're telling the story to yourself that things are okay, which gives you a sort of a confidence in yourself that okay, things will be overcome, because at that time the mind is throwing you off completely and you're going into a panic mode. To avoid that, you're just telling yourself, all is well, or you're treating yourself with a lot of confidence. So try having the confidence. Okay. And one thing I always say, that you can take my wealth, you can take my property, my name, or anything, but if I have the confidence, I'll be able to rebuild everything. But if you take away my confidence from me, I will not only lose my confidence, but I will lose all the other things that define me or I have created in my life. So there are many examples of people who have lost everything and they had their confidence and they were able to rebuild it back in their life. So there's no such thing as you're saying a person is a failure or whatever. If you have the confidence, you're going to come back really, really strong in your life. The other thing which I have is never take the path of least resistance. Okay? Because the path which has been treaded the most has risk written all over it, right? So you have to take a path which is a new one. You have to go into the more risky area so that you develop yourself, and the reward in that particular area is huge. Okay? So the first time people came up with social media networking, these were the people who created the biggest company, Facebook, right? People who thought about creating a biggest automobile company without investing a penny in the automobiles. Uber, they are like the kings, right? Or Amazon, thinking about digital, how do you use the digital technology in creating virtual delivery and virtual warehouses. Fantastic. Amazon, they were able to do huge. Look at the share price where it has reached. Or people who dare to be different, like the Apples of the world, with one of the best designed gadgets and the most sophisticated ones, are one of the most premium capitalized company around the world. So you have to take the path of least, never take the path of least resistance, or take the path of resistance, because resistance makes you better. It makes you better on a daily basis. So an example I give is like when a butterfly is to be formed, the larva, it is in a cocoon and it has to push itself or break the cocoon to come out and turn into a butterfly. If you help the larva in breaking the cocoon for it, it will die because the wings will not have the strength to fly. So nature wants to create the beautiful you, to make you a champion by giving you the resistance. If you don't have any resistance and things are going just your way, then you're not improving in your life. And that is a problem. So getting the resistance, don't feel bad about it if once you have the resistance. If you're not having those, that's where the problem is. So make sure that not to be worried about the issues, and don't take the path of least resistance thinking that it is good. It is not good. It is the one which is most dreaded. The rewards on it are trivial or nothing. But if you go into a different, you are a trail buster and you're making your own path which may have resistance, you will be more successful in life. And the final learning that I have so far is to think positively. There's another comment which has come in. Let me see here. Says resistance is how you have to train at the gym too. Absolutely, absolutely. That's the resistance training, which is one of the best ways of building muscle, is to have resistance. You can use your body weight or you can use the weights in the gym. But true, I agree with you completely. It is. The final learning that I want to share with you is to think positively. Okay. So a lot of people say that it's so easy to say think positively. How do I think positively all the time? It's simple. If you think negatively, you have also trained your mind to think negatively. So if you have trained your mind to think negatively, then why can't you train your mind to think positively? Simple, right? It's just a matter of, just like the Chinese would say, yin and yang. So between the negative and the positive, you have a choice. What do you want to look at, right? And once you start looking at the positive, it's all about what you bring into your focus. And your eye, I may be mistaken, but science says that in a day we have images of like, I don't know, billions of images go into our eye, but we only process a few of those. Okay, the ones that we are focusing on. So that is the thing that we are seeing, because there's so many things in your peripheral vision that is happening all around us, but we are not observing everything. The ant that may be walking on the road at the same time as you're strolling, you're watching something else. Or most of the time people are even in their dreams, so they're not even watching anything. They're just on an auto cruise. They are going towards a particular direction. So try to have, like, when the negative thoughts are coming, generally it is difficult, but try to reason it out. Like, why am I having that negative thought? Can I do something about that negative thought? If you cannot do something, then it's again the same thing as circle of concern. Then take a chill pill. You know, what can you do? If you can do something, then do. Absolutely. But try to have a positive mindset, because positive mindset in itself is no surety that you are going to achieve success. No. But it gives you a greater chance to be successful than being negative. This is for sure. I can promise you this. But just by saying that a person is positive doesn't mean that that person, he or she, will be successful in life. But they have a higher chance of being successful if they are positive, versus if they are negative, there is a higher likelihood of them being unsuccessful in life. So being positive, having the ability to say good things. There's another comment. One tip: catch your negative thought and turn it into a positive one. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. So try to understand, like, if you have a negative thought, why is that thought being generated? What is causing it to come? And what can be done to look at the positive aspects of it? Okay, so having the silver lining, and then having the focus of, like, I give you a story which was really, really interesting. It's written in a very, very good book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Okay, it's like Dale Carnegie, one of the best sellers. It has sold I don't know how many millions. He has also written another book which was even more popular, which was How to Influence People and Win Friends. Two amazing books by Dale Carnegie. You need to read those. So in that one, he writes a story that Lawrence of Arabia, after the First World War, he was seeing that already there was discussion in the political circles to create another war. And he said that he wanted to run away from all this, so he came to this part of the world. He started living in what is now known as Saudi Arabia. And he said that the people over there were simply outstanding. They were outstanding in the sense that they would always use the word makhtub, which means that God's will. And once it so happened that there was a huge storm, and a dust storm came in, and they lost a lot of their sheep. So the chief, instead of lamenting the loss, said that God is great, alhamdulillah, as they would say, alhamdulillah, this was makhtub, but we survived, and we still have a lot of sheep with us. And they had to kill some of them because they were getting diseased, and they were able to live their life. So they didn't panic, worry, or crib about things, but they took the best. Second, he said that he was going with some tribesmen in a car through the desert, and it so happened that the car had a puncture. The driver did not keep a step tire with him, and instead of criticizing the guy for not keeping the tire and them losing time, again the people said, makhtub, it's God's will. That has happened, it was bound to happen, it happened. And then they crossed the desert singing and talking and chatting. That is the type of mindset that the people need to have. That is the type of thing which I'm talking about. Worry is a disease. Worry is a thing which we cultivate ourselves. It's like a fungus. If you give it the environment, it breeds. Same is the case with positive thoughts. You give it the right environment, and positive thoughts breed in your head. Situation is a situation. You cannot say a situation is good or a situation is bad. Absolutely. There are certain things which, of course, if you say that someone passes away or something, then you say, okay, yeah, this is something which is not good, right? That has happened. But most of the time, even people losing their job or losing a business or this, there's always opportunity in them, in these things as well. It's how you look at it and what do you do with it. It's like the issue with most of us is entitlement mentality. Is that we go to, maybe say a prayer, God give us this. It's as if like God is sitting there and then you have to ask him for everything, and it has to be descendant upon you from the skies. You have to take an action. You have been given intellect. You have been given the world which is better than ever before, right? The quality of life is better than what it was 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years before. So do something. You have been given the empowerment to do something with your life and to achieve the things that you want to. And at the end of the day, it's not so much about achieving, it's about living a great life. I always tell myself that when I'm on my dying bed, I should be able to look back and say, I have lived in a great way and I'm ready to go. That at the end should be the way. And the person I saw who was like this, who was not at all afraid of dying, was my father. I was really impressed by him. And I had many discussions when he was getting old, and he would say, I would ask him sometime that, he would tell me that I am already on my bonus. I have passed so many years. I did whatever I wanted to do. I enjoyed my life, and I have no fear of going. And he didn't have any fear when he died. And that's the type of thing one should have. If you're born, you have to go away. But what do you do in the period in which you are born to the time you die? How many great moments can you accumulate in that time when you sit back and think about your life? What are the great things that have happened? How many good emotions or times that you have had in your life? The moments which you can cherish whenever the thought comes in and brings a smile on your face. How many of those instances are there in your life? That's about living. That is the power of living, right? And having the gratitude for all that blessings that have been bestowed to you. Focus on those, not on the small things that have not been provided to you or the things that have been taken away. Appreciate the people in your life who have played some part in making you the individual that you are. Those elements are the most important thing. You may be a billionaire, you may be a pauper. Everyone has to go at the end. What is important is the memories that are generated, the love that is created in your life, and the love that you impart to the people around yourself, not just to your family, but the people who come in touch with you. The people whose life you have positively touched, the people whose life you have zapped, the people who have been down for whatever reason, you have given your hand to pick them up. give them up, give them the courage and the encouragement for them to become from a fledgling tree to a strong oak who can do and live the life that the way they want to. There are many people all around ourselves, including myself. Many times we lose our confidence. We sometimes feel that we are overwhelmed by the situation, by the problems that are coming to us. At that time, you need someone to come to you, hold your hand and say, everything will be okay. And once you find those people, treasure them. They are the people who are the ones you should be most respectful and have the highest level of gratitude. I had those people in my life. I feel that some are gone, like my father, who was the biggest influence. Whenever I had the problem, I would talk with him and he would always say, you are the best. And don't worry, things will be great. I know this. I don't know how would he know, but that is not important. He knew or he did not know. But by saying it, it made me feel that there is someone who believes in me. Someone who truly feels that I am capable of doing certain things in my life. So instead of waiting for others to come in and hug you, you go in and hug other people, because there's a power in the emotions or the power in the encouragement that you provide to us, because it's a karma. It comes and gets you as well in your life. So with that, these were my lessons. I don't know if they were helpful or not. You have your own journey, you have your own life, and I'm sure that people on both Instagram and Facebook, there's some amazing people who have amazing lives and amazing learnings. I would encourage you to also share your learnings with the people, so that people can get inspiration. Everyone lives their own life. We are all seeking just inspiration. Once you have the inspiration and you have your own thinking, your own intellect, you can do things to bring about a change for the better. Or if you are already at better, to make it even the best life that we live. So any thoughts, any questions that you may have, or any experience that you want to share, I open it up to you people. Or maybe if you want to give any feedback, was it helpful or not? I see the letter apparel. I think it's Mohammed. He's saying they were so helpful. Thank you, Mohammed. Any thoughts from Facebook, from Instagram? I want people to share your thoughts. It's good. Okay, let's see, 1 or 2 minutes. If anyone wants to say something. Alicia, you want to say something? Faizan, no? I see a number of people, but I don't. Here it's another one. How do you deal with friends and family who are not as positive? Oh, good question. I think this is Mohammed. Excellent question. There are always people in family and friends who are not positive. And he says that sometimes you can't avoid them, and you cannot, for sure. Generally, if there is, I would say, like, if you have people who are really sapping, try to have lesser contact, because then they affect you negatively, the energy. But there are some people who are like really close to you, and then you want to do something to help them, and then you have to, try to influence them slowly into getting to be more positive in their life. And I tell you, it has an impact, but it has to be done slowly, so that the people are not offended. You have to be more loving, caring towards the people. They have become negative because of some reason which have caused them to be like that. No one is born negative or critical, or there must be an issue. So trying to understand what is it that causes the people. Is it like physiology, psychology? Because these are the only two things that can happen. And then trying to having the time to do something about that for the people. So that's what I would suggest. Alicia is saying, yes, sometimes our close ones are the one we love, but are sappers. Yeah, there are. Because maybe it's because of their love. Sometimes they feel that if you would be doing something which is very different, which they haven't experienced in their life, they feel that you might be pained when you will be a failure, and that's why they're trying to be sappers and trying to stop you. And their way of stopping, because they may not have the same level of vocabulary or the education that you have, they might not be able to explain it. They might not have the experience to do it. Not everyone can explain in a very good way. That's another issue. So in their way, whatever they can do, they will try to do it. But there is always the love behind it, which seems like sapping in many cases. But once we go beyond the the obvious of the form in terms of the way they have explained to understand it becomes different. Like in my own case, with my parents, it was very different. My father was a very, very senior executive. He was a man of the world. He could explain things in such a beautiful and articulate way that you would get it in a jiffy. Now, on the other side, my mom had an approach of more confrontational. She would just say things in a very, very blatant way. But did she love me less than my father? No, not at all. But it's just that her style was different, and she meant the world to me, and she still does, though she's no longer alive, none of them. But the style is sometimes different. It's not that they're sappers or they're zappers. It's just that we sometimes need to understand where they're coming from, what childhood they have had, what were their experiences in life, and they're trying to apply the same experiences onto you, and they're trying to do it in the best possible way. Yeah. So that's a good reminder. So one other thing that I would like to share with all of you is that do go onto my website, which is courageousminds.net. I have a lot of videos over there. I have a full animation movie, The Story of Courage, which you can watch. It's all for free. Then I have 50 Inspire in a Minute videos. You can also watch those that are there. Then I have the blog. I also have articles on LinkedIn. Right now I have, I think, 40 articles. So you can go in and read those. We would also like your feedback, which I have requested earlier also, about these sessions that I do every week. And if you have any thoughts or topics that need to be discussed, and if it is of value to you all, so I can tailor make these sessions accordingly as well. Okay, there is one. This is also so helpful. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so I give another 2 minutes if you have any thoughts, final thoughts or questions, and we are still doing well. We still have 3 minutes to an hour, which we generally have this session for. Any closing thoughts? People are saying thanks. Okay, so with that, I thank all of you for being here, and look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.